How's it going, everyone? How are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going over the quarterfinal draw for the Champions League. Now I'm mostly going to go over Chelsea versus Porto. However, I am going to go ahead and just give you my thoughts on the other ones as well, since we're talking about the draw. But before we get into all that, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. If you're already subscribed, make sure to leave a like on the video. Go check out my Twitter at BlueHermit1. Go check out my Instagram at BlueHermit_. They're the best places to stay updated with the channel. Now, the draw happened at 4 a.m. I was not going to get up at 4 a.m. but we drew Porto, the Portuguese team who knocked out Juventus in the last round and put up a very valiant effort against them, especially on the defensive side. They did put 4 past Juventus, but I think defensively they were very solid back in the back. Now, this could be a really interesting tie because Porto, although most teams, I feel like everyone else in the Champions League who remain would have wanted Porto, they're still not an easy side to go against by any means. Like they're just tough. They are the sort of nitty-gritty smaller side that can easily upset anyone. Essentially is what I'm trying to say, is that they can easily upset anyone. They're a strong side and not one to underestimate, because if you underestimate them, well, you saw what happened to Juventus. So this is going to be a bit of a tough one. Now, one of the last times we played Porto, I don't even remember, it was a long time ago. We played them in 2015, 2016. That was the last time we played them. We were still under Mourinho at that time. I think that was the season that he ended up getting fired in December, but we ended up winning the second match against them in that group stage, lost the first one. We actually have a pretty interesting record against them because there's like no draws. Oh, there's one draw against them, and it's crazy. Honestly, they've pushed us very far. And it's funny because the first time we played them was Mourinho's first season with Chelsea, and this was coming off the back of Mourinho winning the Champions League with Porto, and then he comes to Chelsea, and then we ended up facing each other in the group stage. That was 04-05. Yeah, I think it was 04-05. That's when we ended up going to the semifinals. But Porto now is just as dangerous as ever. If you really watch the games against Juventus, they did enough, and I feel like that's what they can bring to the table. And that sounds bad. That sounds like I'm saying they're not, at next level. They're capable of hitting that next level, but I feel like they're capable of doing just enough to get past their opponent. And I mean, really, the man of the match for both those games, or at least the second leg, was Pepe, their defender, former Real Madrid man, of course. He was lights out for Porto against Juventus, and one of the main reasons why they ended up going through. Their frontman Oliveira is also someone to watch out for. Now, I've said this time and time again that honestly, Chelsea's defense, as good as they've been, I feel like the only real way for them to concede right now is to just shoot themselves in the foot. So going against Porto, we need to be very careful, because I feel like Porto will just wait it out. They're just gonna wait and see and pounce on our mistakes, because if you look against Juventus, they don't enjoy a ton of possession. The average was about 63-37, 64-36, which means Porto was enjoying around a third of the possession across both those legs. And that's concerning in that more than likely Porto are just gonna, again, wait for our mistakes and pounce. So it's crucial, very crucial in this game, that Chelsea individually not necessarily have a perfect game, but avoid making those stupid, silly mistakes that could cost us in the back. A bad pass, holding onto the ball for too long, fluffing a clearance. We need to be careful with that for sure, because Porto are gonna pounce on us. And so my thoughts, I think this is honestly probably one of the more favorable draws we could have gotten, although I don't think anyone would have been particularly easy. I think avoiding City and Bayern means that we don't actually, should we move on, which I think we should, to be honest with you, should we move on, we won't face Bayern or City, assuming they both move on as well, until the final. Whoever ends up there, I believe we won't face either of them until the final. So this is a massive opportunity that has been gifted to us that we need to take advantage of. And like I said, anyone we would have gotten the quarterfinals would have been tough, but Porto's probably, and this is no offense to them, I don't think this is going to be an easy two legs by any means, but I think they probably were the most favorable. I think everyone wanted them. I think everyone, I think I can comfortably say that everyone would have wanted Porto. I don't want to say we avoided everyone else, but we did get a little lucky. Like I said, this is a pretty favorable draw and one we should be winning. I think our defense will come through again. It's a bit tough to call, but I feel like Porto might not have enough firepower to get past us. At least maybe score one goal on us across the two legs. I'm very confident that our defense can turn it around. I'm seeing, honestly, I'm kind of feeling the same sort of scoreline that we had against Atletico, maybe a 1-0 first leg, maybe a 1-0 second leg, or a 2-0 second leg, and we're able to get past them without conceding. Again, I could see Porto maybe scoring one, maybe a 1-1 draw in the first leg, and then we turn it around in the second, or vice versa, or something like that. But this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be easy by any means. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for us. We need to stay focused and make sure we do not underestimate our opposition. Because, I mean, the perfect example is, I know this is the Europa League, but Spurs versus Dynamo. Spurs were up 2-0 in the first leg, and then Dynamo came back and won the second leg 3-0 and moved on and knocked Spurs out of the Europa League. So we need to be careful not to underestimate Porto. Just because everyone wants them doesn't mean that they're not tough. They're extremely tough. This is going to be really, really tough two legs, but I feel like our defense will be able to shut down Porto, and we should be able to get past them relatively. I don't want to say easy. I'm trying to avoid saying easy because I don't think it'll be easy, honestly. I think we should get past them is what I'm trying to say. I think we should get past them. This should be two legs that we win, two legs where we move onto the semifinals, because I genuinely believe that Chelsea actually could do this. I genuinely believe Chelsea could win this Champions League, or at the very least get to the finals. Now, the other legs, the other ties that were announced, again, I'm only going to really talk about them because it happened today and it's still relevant. Also, we could be facing these other teams that are, in these other ties. First up, Real Madrid, Liverpool. Actually, you know what? I'll get to that one last. Because the winner of that we would face if we get past Porto. So let's actually go over the other two. First up, Manchester City, Borussia Dortmund. Bit of a tough one for City. I think the key for City is pretty obvious. Shut down Erling Haaland. You shut down Erling Haaland. Sorry, I left my phone vibrating. You shut down Erling Haaland. You really shut down a key part of their attack, and you force other members of Dortmund's attack to step up. Now, I think Dortmund do have other players that could step up in their attack and could step up and make a difference against City. However, without Haaland, they lose a big piece of their attack. Now, the key for Dortmund is to make sure that doesn't happen. Make sure Haaland is always available. Make sure he's always able to break free out of double teams, triple teams, and able to still attack and still be part of Dortmund's attack. City's defense has been very solid though recently, so that's going to be tough regardless of whether Haaland gets shut down or not. City are still going to be pretty stout defensively. I could see them giving up a goal or two in the first leg. I could honestly see the overall tie score being, the aggregate score being a score that doesn't necessarily represent what happened over the two legs. I do favor City over Dortmund. I'm picking City over Dortmund. I think City could easily get past Dortmund. I could maybe see like a 5-2 aggregate. Maybe a 2-1 first leg win, maybe a 3-1 second leg win. I don't think they'll shut down Dortmund across two legs. I think Dortmund will get a couple goals in there. I think Dortmund will manage to sneak a couple in there. But I think City managed to get past Dortmund and move on to the semifinals. Now, who they would face would be the winner of Bayern versus PSG. That is a fun one. Now, I feel like Bayern are the definition of a team, right? They're pretty complete. They're all around. They tend to work together. I know Lewandowski is their talisman. He scores all their goals. But when you watch them, you just get the feeling that they are a unit. I can't necessarily say the same for PSG. PSG tend to rely a lot on individualism and relying on their star players stepping up and making a play, making this incredible play where they just score this incredible goal and they go on to win off of that, or Mbappe scores a hat trick, or it's always, the headlines are always about individuals, right? It's never like PSG beat so-and-so 3-0. It's always Mbappe scored a hat trick against so-and-so for a 3-0 win. So I feel like individualism can be PSG's, downfall as much as it can be their saving grace, right? I think if they rely too heavily on individuals and if they can't come together as a team, they're going to lose to Bayern again. Mind you, this is a rematch of the last Champions League final, so it's going to be really interesting to see these two teams go against each other again. But I'm going with Bayern. I don't think they'll blow PSG out of the water. PSG will have a lot of confidence, especially in the Champions League after blowing past Barcelona relatively easily. But I feel like Bayern are just the more complete team between the two. I could see the aggregate being like 2-0 and being like 1-0, 1-0, or 1-0, 1-1 for Bayern. But I do think Bayern get past PSG and move on to face Man City in the semi-finals, which would be a really interesting tie there. Man City versus Bayern, or Man City versus PSG, or Dortmund versus Bayern. That's also a possibility. I think Dortmund are capable of pulling off an upset over City, but regardless, based on my predictions, I think City versus Bayern would be the first semi-final up. Now, Liverpool versus Real Madrid is the final leg that'll be going over. Whoever wins this one, should Chelsea move on from Porto, we should be facing in the semi-final Real Madrid versus Liverpool. Either way is tough, right? So it's either a Spanish giant who likes to step up in the big moments, or a Premier League rival who we've had some really interesting games against, to be honest with you. But either way is tough. Real Madrid, Liverpool, both teams that just love to step up when the lights are on them, right? When the spotlight's on them, they love to step up, especially when the going gets tough. I really think that tie does not get decided in the first leg. I don't think either team wins decisively in the first leg. I feel like it's going to be the second leg that really decides the tie. And I know that sounds obvious. Obviously, the second leg always decides the tie, but I think particularly in this one, we can't count either team out. So even if one team loses in the first leg, you cannot count them out in the second. And I think it's really going to be decided in the second leg. It could be, I'm kind of feeling a sort of 2-2 draw. I think I'm feeling that in the first leg, maybe something along those lines. And then the second leg, maybe I'm kind of leaning more towards Liverpool. Both teams have suffered because of injuries. I feel like Liverpool's injury situation has been the worst in Europe, honestly, has been awful for them. But their Champions League form has not really suffered from their injuries. Their Premier League form has, but they're not really their Champions League form. They performed well. It'll be interesting. It's going to be a really interesting tie between them. Who would I rather face? It doesn't really matter. I feel like either one would be incredibly tough to face. It really comes down to how well Liverpool's defense can deal with Real Madrid's offense, and kind of vice versa. I trust Real Madrid's defense a little more than I trust Liverpool's defense, honestly, but I think Liverpool can explode at any moment. It's going to be really interesting to see this tie, though. Mohamed Salah versus Sergio Ramos, again, that rematch of the final. Damn, man, that was like 3 years ago now. It's crazy. But yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I'm going to go with Liverpool. I think a 2-2 draw in the first leg and then maybe a 2-1 win in the second. I think it's going to be very, 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 very close between those two teams. But I think Liverpool move on, and the semifinal will be Chelsea versus Liverpool. Chelsea versus Liverpool, Bayern versus Man City. And then potentially a rematch, Chelsea versus Bayern in the final. I think Chelsea are more than capable of making it to the final this year, and I think they just might. I think Chelsea have a very good case to make it to the final this year. I'm incredibly excited to see them match up against Porto. I think we have the April 7th game. Let me double check. Yeah, so we have the April 7th game, and then the next week we have it on April 13th, so it's right around the corner. And then the semifinals would be likely we'd have the April 28th game, and then May it would be the goal there. That'd be incredible if Chelsea could turn this season around, going from that 17 game of being run to that horrible middle of the season run to under Tuchel and win the Champions League would be incredible. Funny that the last time we won the Champions League, we were really struggling in the first half of the season, turned it around the second half of the season, and ended up going on to win the whole Champions League. So could be a repeat in history. I'm confident that Chelsea will challenge whoever they go against. I can't 100% say Chelsea will win no matter what. I could definitely see Chelsea being in the final though. I could see Chelsea being in the final. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the UCL draw today. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the video. Also, go check out my socials in the description. Twitter is @BlueHermit1. Instagram is @BlueHermit_. Please share the socials with your friends, family, everyone you know. Let the people know Blue Hermit's where it's at, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.